Hello everyone, new day, new topic. After Operation Sindoor and US tariff, the relation between India and US have fragmented to some extent. So the topic for today is India US relation. We will know about the history events in the topic. So let's start. India and US have a dynamic and multifaceted relationship that has evolved significantly over the decades from s- skep- initial skepticism and divergent interest during Cold War to an era of strategic ties and economic collaboration. The relation has reflected changing contours of global geopolitics and mutual aspiration. Relation during Cold War. After India's independence in 1947, several aspects like non-alignment policy, India's forced tie with Soviet Union, and India's protectionist policy, socialism, US tilt toward Pakistan, and provided military aid during 1965 and 1971, and India's aspiration to become a nuclear power have created a chasm between India and US. Despite differences, Indian diaspora began to grow after Immigration and Nationalist Act 1965. Indian scientists, engineers, and academics started making contribution in US development. Now, relation after Cold War. Post Cold War, the relation began to improve, attributed to several aspects, which includes India's reform policy in 1991, which allowed US companies to float in India, India US civil nuclear agreement, joint military exercises like Yudh Abhyas, joint space collaboration like NISAR, and participation in multilateral groupings like G20, I2U2, and Quad. Again, Indian diaspora more than 4.8 million continue to bolster India's soft power and by making significant contribution in politics and research and development. Now challenges. Tariff posed by US on Indian goods have led to rupees depreciation and trade deficit. US lean towards Pakistan have raised a concern for India. 3. US occasionally criticize India on issues like religious and press freedom, which India viewed it as a interference in domestic affairs. 4. US continuously putting pressure on India to end ties with Russia. Now, way forward. India need to focus on multilateral groupings which comprising US to counter biggest threat China in the region. Number two, India uh, trade deficit can be tackled by Make in India initiative, and constructive dialogue is required to avoid tariffs. Shared commitment towards uh, democracy, innovation, and sustainable growth can can form a foundation for collaboration. And self-reliant India in defense and space innovation would increase deterrence power. In conclusion, I would say India and US relation has evolved from wary partners to strategic allies, except sporadic events. The ties deeply rooted in mutual respect and shared shared aspiration hold shared aspiration hold a promise in shaping a secure, prosperous, and inclusive world. Thank you, everyone. That was all from my side, and good night.